Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmajah Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam. Valmiki Rishi is the original storyteller, and his model is what has become the standard for storytelling in the entire world, not just what we call Hinduism or India, but all over the world. If we consider that Sri Ramachandra advented on this earth for 11,000 years, and his entire 11,000 are not given in detail, and the story is distributed among the 7 khandas in this way, roughly. The Balakanda deals with a little prior to Ramachandra's birth or appearance, all the way up to his 24 years of life. Maybe 12 years of life, let's say. 12 years of life. 12 years. Ayodhya Kanda deals with, although 12 years that have just passed like that, the focus is on about another 12 some years. You're right, about another 12 years roughly, Ayodhya Kanda. Aranya Kanda deals with about 13 years. Different aspects that have happened. Kishkinda Kanda deals with almost a year, not a full year, but almost a year, about 10 months or so. 10, 11. I mean, these numbers are not so hard, but you get the idea. Sundarakanda deals with about 36 hours. That's it. The entire Sundarakanda is about 36 hours worth of action. Yuddhakanda deals with making the bridge, going for war, and different scholars and commentators and acharyas have different ideas of how long the war lasted. Regardless, we're still talking some days and months, maybe. And then the coronation of Sri Ramachandra. And Yuddhakanda then deals with pretty much the next 10,960 some years. Like it goes through like that. That format of storytelling, if you notice, whether it's movies, novels, dramas, certain, if you take a hero or a story, certain aspects are glossed over, and the most critical events is where the storyteller spends the maximum time, although the time frame of the story moving is very short. The Sundarakanda is Hanuman jumping in early morning or sometime. He flew in, reached Lanka, waited for the sun to set, reconnaissance mission through the night, and next morning, as soon as the sun rose or by afternoon, he's back. Very short period of time, but is so glorified and so revered. The entire Ramayana, it is said, if you can't read the entire Ramayana, just hear or read the Sundarakanda. Everything is there. So we've taken some time to cover the 200 verses or 200 or more verses of first chapter. Today we'll cover 2 chapters. One, because I want to make sure that our interest remains. Second, is too detailed that I may not be able to get through. I want to keep it moving. And so I'm going to gloss over a few things. Most of us are students of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the 4th canto, Narada Muni narrates the forest of material existence. Similar to that, although that is an allegorical story, that there is a person who has this wife and is all these. Think of it in one sense, a parallel, where Hanumanji is now going to look at Lanka and he's having this picture of what Lanka looks like. And that is Valmiki's description. I'll try to go through a little bit. I may not be going through all the details. That is self-study. I'm sure you would have a wonderful time reading through. So today's topic is Welcome to Lanka. Hanuman has just killed Simhika and has soared back into the sky. And as he is, all the sages, demigods, Gandharvas who have gathered in the sky are glorifying Hanuman for his great, great achievement of killing Simhika. Because Simhika as a demon was very formidable. And as we heard last time, some of the sages said that Hanuman was created or was born just for killing Simhika. So now Hanuman is on the descent from the sky as he's coming in. He has not landed yet. If any one of us has that experience, as the plane that we are in is descending towards the airport, what would look as just pastures of land starts to have more definition. So Hanuman has now reached near the shore of the other side of the ocean, which is the region of Lanka. So as he is seeing, he knows that he has crossed 100 yojanas, and he sees a lot of rows of trees. He sees the massive ocean and all the rivers running into the ocean. Rivers are called the wives of the ocean. And before starting anything auspicious, it seems, one should have darshan of a married woman, because they bode auspiciousness. So Valmiki says that Hanuman had the darshan of the wives of the ocean. So that's a indicator that things will be more auspicious from here. And then as he's flying in, he's noticed that his body is gigantic, which itself is like a big mountain or a huge cloud that is about to cast itself on Lanka. And so this great Vanara started to think to himself, if I land on Lanka with this gigantic form, all the demons who are there will become very inquisitive to see my this extraordinary size. And then he says, I don't want to get anyone's attention because I'm on a reconnaissance mission. I don't want to be noticed. I don't want to enter Lanka with this loud announcement. I just want to go in quietly to search for Sita Devi, to assess what Lanka means, what Ravana looks like, etc. So I don't want to be seen. And so Hanuman contracted his size to much smaller. And Valmiki tells us that the ease with which Hanuman went from this gigantic size to his normal size is just like Vamana Dev, who with this massive form covered the entire upper planetary systems and the lower planetary systems, suddenly transformed himself into the dwarf Vamana standing in front of Bali Maharaj. Then Hanuman landed on the peak of Trikuta. So the entire Lanka, although when we say Lanka, it's like sometimes we say Vrindavan or Mathura. There is Mathura Mandala and then the actual Mathura, and in that is Vrindavan. Sometimes we refer to in general as Mathura or Vrindavan. Any city that you are in, Bangalore, Chicago, when we say the name of the city precincts itself may be smaller, but the surrounding area, the suburbs and all that, we generally refer to as the name of that city. So in this way, Lanka means that entire region. It also means the very specific city as well. So when he landed, this Lanka is situated on the peak of Trikuta mountain. And on Trikuta, there are other peaks. Hanuman landed on a peak on Trikuta mountain by the name Lamba, which itself was very beautiful, full of fragrant, colorful, bright, and fully blossomed flowers like ketaka flowers, coconut trees, wonderful, wonderful flowering, verdant trees. Hanuman saw Lanka and for a moment was taken aback at this fantastic city. Yeah, it's a great, massive country, if you will, or place in the middle of an ocean filled with demons. But wow. And as if Lanka was being decorated by the ocean, Valmiki gives us the poetry. You can imagine it, that the waves that were hitting the shore, you see, although the ocean is blue or brown, depending on where in the world you're seeing the ocean, the waves, when they hit the land, they turn into whitish color. And waves come in as if there are garlands of flowers being brought to Lanka. And Hanuman said, this looks like Amravati, the capital of Indra. Beautiful. Part of the reason, one of the commentators says, he was reminded of Amravati is from the constant recitation of Vedic mantras in Lanka. Hey, just imagine. Then Hanuman, who was comfortably standing on the peak of Trikuta mountain, he says as soon as he landed, Valmiki tells us that Hanuman was covered with flowers. As soon as the intensity with which he landed, the trees shook and welcomed him with flowers, just as a hero is welcomed home. He looked like as if he himself was a heap of flowers. In Simhachalam, there is Varaha Lakshmi Narasimha. On that deity, every day they apply sandalwood paste. And they apply so much each day that very quickly the deity is fully covered and you only see like this mound of sandalwood. And that's the deity. You don't see any features except on Akshaya Tritiya Day. Similarly, Hanuman was fully covered with flowers. And then Valmiki tells us this wonderful verse, Yojananam Shatam Shriman Tirtva Api Uttama Vikramaha Anishwasan Kapistatra Na Glanim Adigachati. Yojanam Shatam Shriman Tirtva. Shriman Tirtva. Tirtva means to cross. Having crossed 100 yojanas, and then he refers to Hanuman as Shriman and Vikrama. Shriman, because he is carrying the service of Ramachandra on his shoulders, and he's about to meet Sita Devi. That's the reason he's there. So he's already decorated with all the blessings of Shri. Anyone who takes on the service attitude, and that's what drives their activities, their thoughts and words, such a person is called Shriman. Therefore, we refer to Prabhupada as Srila Prabhupada. And he says, Uttamaha Vikramaha, the best of heroic persons. Vishishta, V is special, Vishesha. Kramaha, step. Vikrama means one who took very special steps. Now, Hanuman did not walk, but that one jump from Mount Mahendra is Vikrama, like Lord Vamandev. The interesting thing is, after such a long jump in between facing off with Surasa, Simhika, one may wonder, was Hanuman tired? So Valmiki tells us, Anishwasan. Shvasana means, Nishvasana means to exhale. Uchvasa means to inhale. Nishvasa is to exhale. Yasyaika nishvasita kalam athavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha. In the Brahma Samhita, just by his exhaling, all of the universes are created from the pores of his great body. So Anishwasan means Hanuman did not even exhale. Anyone watch a 100-meter race or a marathon or any race or any activity that we are performing. Let's say we carried a heavy box from one room to another, one floor to another. That is but natural to exhale as a relief. Anishwasan kapihi tatra naglanim adigacchati. He did not become even the least emaciated, tired or degraded or weak. That was his energy. And then Hanuman said, I crossed 100 yojanas. What to speak of 100? I can cross over any number of hundreds of yojanas that are incalculable. We know numbers, million, billion, trillion. Beyond that, it's hard to. So anything beyond that, that's what Hanuman's, I can cross over any distance. So Hanuman, who's fast, strong-willed, when he came to this very, very fragrant forest area on Trikuta mountain, Hanuman, as he was gazing at Lanka, he saw all these beautiful, auspicious trees actually. And Valmiki gives the entire list of trees. I'm going to just give you a sample. Sarala Karnikara flowers, date trees, Ketaka trees filled with Kadamba flowers, other flowering plants, Kovidara trees. Kovidara is a special fig tree, and that is the tree that is the emblem of Bharat Maharaja's flag. And any place is considered beautiful when there are lush green trees, trees with flowers and fruits, fragrant ones, birds, animals, butterflies all over. So Hanuman saw that there was this variety of birds there: duck, waterfowl, cranes, herons, peacocks, parrots, beautiful gardens, resorts, ponds, lakes, houses and trees all around those water bodies, and birds cawing and flying, landing on the water, nicely flying off from that water. Blue lotuses. We also saw demons guarding those ponds. They had very frightening arms they were carrying in their hands. There were boundary walls that were made or inlaid with gold. Houses were all whitewashed. We whitewashed them with paint. We think that the houses were made with ivory. And how white they were, Valmiki says they were like the autumn clouds. There's a difference between monsoon cloud and autumn cloud. Monsoon clouds are blackish because they carry rainwater. But in autumn, Sharad season, there is no water in the clouds. So the clouds all turn white. So these houses that were so tall and white, they're towering, they looked like white autumn clouds. And all the streets were very, very well organized, decorated with banners and flags, colorful creepers, festoons. Looked just like Indra's palace, Indra's city called Amravati. Then he was stunned. Oh, Lanka is built by Vishwakarma, the chief architect of the demigods. Because Vishwakarma had built it, given it to Lord Brahma, who gifted it to Kubera, and Ravana usurped Lanka from Kubera and kicked him out of Lanka. So this entire city of Lanka appeared like a beautiful woman. Then Hanuman thought, oh, Lanka looks like Kailasha, with skyscrapers as if they were all flying on soft clouds. Great, lovely place filled with the followers of Lord Shiva, the Nagas and the Bhutas. It even appeared like the great city called Bhogavati, which is Lord Yamaraja's place of residence. Very, very beautifully built. This is unimaginably well built. Now, Kubera doesn't live there, and all these horrific demons are guarding it. They seemed like all these venomous serpents who are making sure with protruded fangs that no one enters, no one who's not allowed can enter Lanka. So Hanuman was wondering, how will Ravana look, who's the one who's the king of a place like this? I wonder how Ravana will look. And then when he saw the kind of ramparts, the armors, the way Lanka was built, it was protected with moats and high walls and demons with arms and all sorts of things. Hanuman was like, how is it possible for the Vanaras to come here? And even if they come here, what's the point? This is a very formidable city. Lanka is invincible even to the demigods. What to speak of Vanaras? So Hanuman started thinking, what will Ramachandra do? Even if he arrives here in Lanka, how can he cut through? And he says, as far as reconciliation with the demons, I don't think it's possible, because in conflict resolution, it is said that there are 4 strategies: Samadana, Danda, Bheda. Sama means to pacify the opponent. Dana means to give something. Okay, you take this part, you take this extra. Danda means to punish. And Bheda means in the enemy, you divide and conquer. So Hanuman is thinking of these things. Sama is, of course, out of the question. So he's thinking of Dana, Danda, and Bheda, and he says, there's no reconciliation possible. You cannot give them gifts. I mean, what gift Ravana will take? And they cannot be divided with any dissension among them. And he says, there's no scope for war. Only 4 monkeys in the entire Vanara clan can actually have access to this place. Angada, son of Vali, Sugriva, Nila, and myself. Now, whether Sita Devi is alive, she's well, how she is, we have no idea. Anyway, when I see her, I will think about the rest of the plan. Let me now first just see how Lanka is laid out. Then he says, well, the form that I have is not conducive for me to enter Lanka. I want to be inconspicuous, such that I will not be noticed by anybody, especially if I walk in like this Vanara, powerful. Very quickly, they will catch me. They'll know I'm someone who doesn't belong here. And he says, what I'll do is I'll wait for nightfall. That's when I will enter. And then he said, as he was thinking, he was sighing, oh my, how's this Lanka? This is so indomitable. How am I going to find Sita Devi? She's guarded, taken away by this evil Ravana. And he says, okay, sometimes well-planned strategies don't work out. So I'm going to create my strategy as or played by ear. Let's see how things go. And then says, okay, if I'm seen by Ravana's demons, then if I'm not careful, then I'll be caught. And if I'm caught, Ramachandra's mission will be spoiled. He's very conscious of being a representative of Sri Ramachandra and how he should behave while he is traversing through Lanka. So he says, I cannot be in this form. I don't want to be detected. Especially these demons, they are so alert that nothing will escape them. So Hanuman waited for the sun to set. As soon as sun set, it was dusk time, Hanuman transformed himself into a very tiny size, like a cat. Valmiki uses the phrase Vrishadamshakaha. Vrishadamshaka means an animal who eats mouse, cat. Now, something about a cat is one in size. A cat is small, and Hanuman, who's mighty, actually took on a very small form so that is not noticeable. Another thing about a cat is that even if you drop the cat from a height, it has such wonderful padding in its paws that it will land always on its paws, but you never hear a sound. Even when a cat walks through twigs and leaves, you can't hear. A cat is very soft footed. And finally, in the Sri Vaishnavism, they have this philosophy about a monkey and a cat. The idea that a cat and a monkey indicate the kind of a relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. In the monkey, if you see, when a mother monkey jumps from one tree to another tree, from the ground to the wall, and however, its baby is holding on to the mother. And because the baby is holding on, the mother jumps from one place to another. That means there is effort from our side. But if you look at a cat, its babies are helpless. The mother catches by her mouth the neck of her babies, pulls them up, and takes them to where they need to go. So they indicate that a completely surrendered soul does not really do anything for their own survival. They are completely dependent on the Lord. So this reference to cat-like is to indicate that Hanuman is so surrendered, and that he's indicating Sharanagati as the path of fully relishing our relationship with the Lord. Of course, that kind of Sharanagati is, I guess, generally aspirational. Up until that point, we are like monkeys where we have to hold on to the Lord because we haven't become Samashrita ye pada pallava plavam. Samashrita hasn't happened yet. I shouldn't say it hasn't happened as if I know about all of us. I'm just saying that in sadhana bhakti stage, we are cultivating our surrenderedness. The pure devotees do not need to do anything from their side for their own protection or subsistence. Think of Srivas Acharya. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, Srivas, you're always here. Are you not thinking about your own food and family and how everyone will survive? And Srivas said, I will only clap 3 times, which means when I'm serving the Supreme Lord, all my needs are taken care of. That kind of, not theoretical, but realized, is Samashrita. Or Ambarish Maharaj, when that demon Virabhadra was rushed towards Ambarish Maharaj, Ambarish's reflex did not even make him close his eyes or protect himself. He stood there with his hands folded and was remembering the Lord, that come what may. That is the idea of surrender like a kitten. Then Hanuman went through the rows. Now it's a very close reconnaissance. He's inside Lanka city. He's entering it. He has not fully gone in, but he's looking at all the rows of buildings. The buildings were 7 or 8 stories tall. There were mansions. The pillars were made with gold and silver. Windows were made full of filigrees of gold, inlaid with crystals. Floors were decorated with gold. It looked like where the Gandharvas live. Everywhere in the walls, in the floors, pillars, there were precious gems studded in them because they would reflect light back. It seems Ravana had all of his lamps, not crystals, but actual large diamonds posted near their lamps. So when the lamps would be lit, the diamonds would reflect light all over his palace. And in the daytime, because of sunshine, the diamonds would glitter in his entire palace. Not just one diamond, entire palace was studded. Not just palace, the entire city was studded with diamonds and gold and gems. Beholding Lanka, Hanuman became even more eager to see Sita because he didn't know where she is in this very, very well decorated, intricate, complex place called Lanka. So as he is progressing, it's nighttime. Obviously, he needs some help. The moon rose in the sky. And with thousands of rays, the moon helped Hanumanji find his path. So the moon actually came to help. Valmiki says it was not white like a white conch shell, in the color of milk, in the color of lotus stalks or petals, and like a bright swan. So these are all auspicious signs. So like conch shell, because a conch is what you blow to herald an auspicious activity like yagya or arati, or the arrival of a great person. The color of milk and lotus, because those are what are offered to the Supreme Lord. Milk is considered to be the purest and most nourishing beverage. So to give him strength, to give him conviction. And bright like a swan. Swans are auspicious birds. They remind us of Paramahamsas. So all of these are the moon's way of telling Hanuman, we are there with you, supporting you. Then Hanuman, as he was getting down from the peak of this mountain called Lamba, he came to the gates of Lanka city. There was a continuous wall, like a girdle. In Sanskrit, women wear belts or girdles, and they're called mekhala. A golden wall was around Lanka, like the girdle or a belt worn by beautiful women. And at that time, Hanuman became very surprised. Wow, what a place. He saw the doors were all made of gold. The where people would sit were made with sapphires. They were inlaid with diamonds and crystal. I mean, anywhere and everywhere, there was nothing but opulence. Hanuman said, wow, there is no way that Ravana and his army can be defeated. Maybe Angada, Sugriva, maybe Mainda and Dvivida should come here. They are the ones who can do something. Anyway, he reminded and he thought about Sri Ramachandra and Lakshmana, and his heart became very happy. Here's the point. As soon as fear or anxiety or anytime our surety becomes weakened, remembrance of the Lord, smarana, makes the heart happy. Lakshmanasya cha vikranta abhavat pritiman kapihi. Pritiman, he became very happy and pleased. Raghavasya parakramaha Lakshmanasya vikranta. Then, as soon as Hanuman was just about to enter inconspicuously into Lanka, there, this city of Lanka took the form of a demoness. She was dressed with diamonds as her clothes. The different storage rooms for grains and wealth and other things were her earrings. The great armors and weapons were her breasts. And all these lamps that were illuminating the houses. There was no dark space, so Hanuman was caught. This guardian of Lanka city, her name is Lankini. She stopped Hanuman. She had horrific, big, reddish, scary eyes. And she sounded with a very booming voice to Hanuman, said, "Stop! Who goes there? Who are you? For what reason are you in Lanka? Before I kill you, tell me the truth." Oh, Vanara, this entire Lanka is guarded by Ravana's demons. What is your purpose? Tell me. So Hanuman, who was standing in front of Lankini, said, "Whatever you're asking me, I will tell you truthfully." He said, "Who are you? Oh, one with horrible, ugly eyes, horrible, ugly eyes. And why are you stopping and threatening me?" Lankini became even more angry that how dare somebody question her authority. She says, "I protect this city. I'm invincible. And I am here waiting for orders from Ravana. I'm ready for whatever order Ravana gives me. And if you humiliate me as you are right now by even asking me, I will beat you up and put you to permanent sleep. I'll kill you. I told you I am the protector of Lanka." Then Hanuman, for a moment, stood in front of her like another mountain. And Hanuman spoke to her. He says, "Drakshami Nagarim Lankam." I have come here to see Lanka, to see its palaces, to see the wonderful walls and archways. I'm very curious to see. So he's telling her, I've come as a tourist. I'm just curious what this place is. I want to see the gardens, parks, and forests, all these important houses. I want to stand there, take selfies, pictures. I want to create an album, memory of visiting Lanka. So Lankini became even more irritated. And she spoke even more harshly than before and said, "Oh, Vanara with an evil mind. You cannot enter Lanka without defeating me. Or I am going to send you back from where you came." So Hanuman said, "I just want to tour the place. And after I've toured the place, when my visa time is over, I'll go away." Lankini didn't want to hear anymore, so she slapped Hanuman. The slap was so strong that it made a thundering noise. And Hanuman became irritated. He clenched his left fist and he was about to punch her, and he thought, she's a woman. And with that, without much strength, just hit her. And that was enough that she fell on the ground. He didn't even hit her hard. She just fell on the ground. Her face became all contorted. And then, with a very gloomy, soft voice, she spoke to Hanuman, "Oh, best of the Vanaras, please protect me. It is not easy for anybody to hit me like this. I am myself the city of Lanka, but I'm defeated by your strength. Now I'm remembering that I was given a boon by Lord Brahma. Let me tell you about it. Lord Brahma had told me that, oh Lankini, remember, whenever a Vanara conquers you with his strength, that will be the day when Rakshasas will become fearful. So, Hanumanji, I think my time has come. Lord Brahma's words have come truthful. I can now know that the destruction of Ravana and all of his Rakshasas, owing to his taking away Sita, has now arrived. That time has arrived. So, for whatever reason you want to enter Lanka, please, please enter. This place is ruled by the Rakshasas. As you want, you can roam anywhere you like and you can search for Sita. I cannot stop you. And that way, Hanuman entered Lanka. Already with this idea that Lankini is not going to stop him. So Lankini, just some reflections before we have some discussion. Lankini represents, but before Lankini represents, let's step back. The ocean that is surrounding Lanka is the ocean of material existence. And Lanka, which is right in the middle of the ocean, is the body. And this body is covered all over with a golden hue called the skin. And people try and shine it and they decorate it. There are all these fantastic, expensive, different things that people do to one's body in terms of cosmetics, clothing, jewelry, spa treatment, manicures, pedicures, whatever it is, hair grooming, etc., is the Rakshasas' way of taking care of Lanka. It's just the parallel that everybody who has a body takes care of their body in a very careful way, because it is the most dear or the dearmost possession a person has. And this Lankini is the sense of egotism that has the features of aham and mama, I and mine. And this I and mine, especially the mind, creates a defensiveness. Plus our ego, ahankara, that I am the doer, I am the protector, I am the whatever, I am the doer as the language in Bhagavad Gita. We have an unwillingness for receiving the great devotees. We have an unwillingness to receive good counsel. We have an unwillingness to receive Shabda Brahma. Hanuman represents mantra. So there is an unwillingness. Sometimes we call it causeless unwillingness. We are not aware. But every living entity who is averse, Vimukha Chetasam, Prahlad Maharaj says, is averse to bhakti. And that aversion manifests in the form of unwillingness, no entry. So Prahlad Maharaj says, Shoche tatho vimukha chetasam indriyartham maya sukham udvahato vimodhan. Carry this illusory happiness. That illusory happiness is actually a burden. Maya sukhaya bharam udvahata. Vahata, carrying. Udvahata means trying to lift up. This heavy burden is what we are trying to hold. Vimudhan, vimukha chetasa. Our consciousness is turned away from the Lord. So there is this sense of ego or egotism that is very fragile. That's why Hanuman did not crush Lankini. He gently broke it or defeated it. Before anyone can become surrendered to a spiritual master, the spiritual master will gently tap and try to crack that egotism. Without that cracking of ego, it is very, very hard to accept the grace of the spiritual master. Every one of us, in some way or the other, in some lifetime, have had our ego cracked a little bit. Think of any story. The first I'm thinking immediately is when Jadabharata met Rahugana. Jadabharata had to crack that ego or egotism, if you will, a little bit for Rahugana to say, "Oh, you're a very great person. How can I hear from you?" When Nalukuvera and Manikgriva, they were rolling in intoxication, Narada Muni had to shake them up a little bit. Every person. If they are not willing, then their willingness is brought about by shaking up their ego a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Because if a person is completely shattered, it's very hard for them to gather themselves. So just a little bit. And that's what Hanuman did with Lankini. And that's how we complete third chapter of Sundarakanda. And let's see if there are any questions or comments, thoughts.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Kirti. Thank you so much for nice class. Is this Trikuta mountain same as where Gajendra pastime happened?
I don't know. It's called Trikuta, means 3 peaks. So anything that has 3 peaks is called Trikuta. Whether it's exactly the same or not, I don't know.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Could you comment on the Sri Vaishnava philosophy where you mentioned about the monkey philosophy and the cat philosophy? I've heard sometimes from some Vaishnavas, Sri Vaishnavas, that because of the cat philosophy, they don't have to do Vaidhi sadhana.
That is true. That is how some of them say, meaning the moment they get initiation of Shankha and Chakra, that is what they call Samashrayam, complete surrender. From there on, it's the Lord's responsibility. So it is true in terms of the intent of it is true. By that method of, for that matter, it's true even in our philosophy that initiation means I am now the Supreme Lord's property. He will take care of me. But the conviction for it may not come immediately. So our understanding is from Rupa Goswami that Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is essential for that kind of raganuga. Although what we call pure devotional service is similar to what they call as Sharanagati or Prapatti. Although the terminology is different, sometimes the path in which they recommend may be different, but the intention of Sharanagati is the same. The terminology differs. Perhaps sometimes the mechanism of it may look differently. But for us, our followers of Rupa Goswami, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, because both our effort and the Lord's grace are required. Both are there. When one has come to a point where one doesn't, deep in their heart, they don't feel that they need to protect themselves or care for themselves at all, then it is that full prapatti or sharanagati. Think of Madhavendra Puri. He never sought food. If it came, he ate because the conviction is that the Lord will take care. They never do anything to protect themselves. They don't do anything. They're completely surrendered. And there are verses all over Bhagavatam here and there. Our method is to get there, we practice it. We have a very tight clasp on our own life while we utter words of surrender. So there is a gap. There is a gap in what we say versus what we do. generally. There's also a gap between where we are and where we want to be. Obviously, if you were already there, then it's a different issue. But there is a gap. And that gap is filled by Vaidhi Bhakti. And for that matter, Sri Vaishnavas also, even if they have Shamashram, they will make sure that they will do their Sandhya Vandanam and their rituals properly, because that's part of the service. They do it in the mood of service. So our Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is the method to slowly peel out what we say Mishra Bhakti, the mixtures of Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, Yoga Mishra Bhaktis. So we have to go through Anartha Nivritti. After Anartha Nivritti comes the more purer Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, like that. That's all I do. I don't know Sri Vaishnavism philosophy beyond that. I'm not an expert at all.
Just a follow-up, probably. Would you have some time?
If it's a short follow-up, if it's about Sri Vaishnava philosophy, you've lost me already.
So in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we, even in the elevated stages, the regulations don't change, right? They don't give up Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti.
No, they don't give up Vaidhi. No, they don't do it with the idea that these are Vaidhis. They are not obliged to follow Vaidhi either, because that stage where Madhavendra Puri says, Sandhya Vandanam Bhor, I'm not obliged to do Sandhya Vandanam. I'm not obliged to bathe 3 times. I'm not obliged anything. I'm just happy chanting the names of the Supreme Lord. If they do anything, it is not because that's a rule. They do it because it is an expression of their love for the Lord.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. So thank you very much for the analogy on Lanka and Lankini with respect to the material existence and our body. May I ask for some practical points, how we can overcome that unwillingness to receive, like here in you mentioned like Shabda Brahma is Hanma. So are there any points that you can suggest to overcome?
Sure. When we meet saintly persons, when we pick up scripture, when we hear the realizations of our acharyas, we will find that even unwillingly there is a wall, there is an unwillingness. And the practical way is to let them shatter that ego a little bit. You will find scripture has sometimes, Shastra behaves like Shastra, weapon sometimes. So let it shatter the ego a little bit. And the way to do it is constant hearing. Constant or regular, everyday hearing, receiving scripture. Pravishtra karnarandhena swanam bhava saroroham. As the ear receives these beautiful messages, the lotus of the heart blooms. And dhunoti shamalam, all the contamination just settles. Shalilam cha yathasharat, like when rain falls during autumn time, the dirty, brown, murky rivers become clear because the dust has settled down. And all of this is because pravrishta karna randrena, from the ear, it should enter the heart. So hearing as a culture, as a habit, katha, then we are not aware that, oh, my unwillingness is gone. We are transformed by the dosage of katha. It should be katha. Okay, Swarna, Sita.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Kirti, I didn't ask you. Are you okay? We abruptly went to the next question. You're all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances, all Krishna Prabhupada.
Who is this? Karma Karuna?
For-
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. Please accept
Yes.
my humble obeisances, all
Yes.
Krishna Prabhupada. So, just a follow-up question. You quoted the words "Paravishta Karuna," it should enter the heart, from heart to ears. And you also told that our false ego would have been crushed before, if not this life, in the previous life. And you
And if
quoted,
it didn't get crushed this life, my edit is, if we think, oh, I might didn't get crushed this life, it got crushed sometime, for sure. If not, waiting to happen. But yes, go ahead.
yes. And you also quoted Prahlad Maharaj, "Stocheta, tatovimukha chetasa." And you gave the wonderful answer about. But my question is that this false ego, uh, when it get crushed, it's difficult to hear to anyone. Shastra, sadhu, and guru all become irrelevant, even though we know they are the highest people in our life, but the mind overpowers. So how to allow ourselves to get our false ego crushed and surrender properly?
Right. So when that happens, I'm being arrogant enough to say that the ego has not been crushed. The ego has been punched or pinched, and that's the pain that we want, that the living entity protects further, because ahara, nidra, bhaya, the defensive, the fear of something, losing something, or the need to protect comes very, very strongly. It doesn't mean we should not protect ourselves. I'm talking specifically in relation to Shabda entering. There is this. And the very fact that one doesn't hear or one is not interested in hearing, the taste goes away, is all the reflex of the Cheta to put the wall that, oh, I'm going to lose further. I don't want to hear. I don't have any taste. That Vimukha Chetasa becomes even stronger. But deep down, if one has, remember when we went last week, when we spoke about vision, drishti, dhriti, mati, and daksham, if that is clear, what do I want in my life? What do I want? That question every day one should ask, and one should follow or contribute to that grand vision. What do I want? Then it gives strength to say, oh my gosh, I still have to hear Shabda Brahman. Otherwise, if that grand vision is not clear, more walls and defenses and armory will come back up. Because I feel pinched, or my ego has been challenged. It has not been crushed yet. It's been pinched for sure.
Yes, yes. And it makes sense, that long vision. Yes, Prabhu. And it makes sense when we hear again and again this long vision formula come in the mind.
Right.
But
So the true north, that lighthouse must always be clear. When the lighthouse is clear, even if the boat is moved by the waves, at least it knows what direction it needs to go in. That should be clear.
I kind of argue with that, because yatato hapi kaunteya purusha shavapashyata indriyani hi pramathini haranti prasabam mama.
Sure.
That means, how can we understand that? And everything become irrelevant. Ajamil, he was completely doing shastras. He was like from A to Z. But he was like completely bewildered when he saw this thing.
So in Ajamila's case, if you want to argue further, in Ajamila's case, the recitation and this was more on an external. Internally, the mind was fighting that one. That attraction was growing as well. And yes, he did not take shelter of the Lord. Therefore, Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya. Because somewhere the door was open for Maya. The door was needed to be closed, but he did not close it. So he kept the door open and recited all the prayers. No, 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 no. It's not like that. So he was given a chance. He was given a chance that a remembrance of the name of Lord Narayana was still preserved for him, and he given another chance.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And this was simple thing. How can we close the doors just by what you told?
That's each individual person's has their own way of closing the door. I can't generalize it. It depends on each person's story. Because each person has an individual journey and relationship with the Lord. So it can't be a general close the door. So only the general part would be to close the door. Say no. But most people keep the door open and say no. When your doorbell rings, let's say someone you don't want is at the door, you don't open the door and say, I'm sorry, I don't want you to come in. You keep the door closed and say no. Like that. Then don't ask if someone breaks the door open.
That's
All right, let's move to the next one. You're welcome, Prabhu. Anything else? Oh, Shamakund Prabhu, you want to say something about anything?
I was actually wanting to ask a question, bro. You read my mind.
I'm asking for help.
No. Prabhu, when you mentioned about the slap or the nudge or the punch being given like the Hanuman to Lankini, I'm just talking about like in general.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that word. What was that word?
I said in general. See, is that most people like to be with those who do not hurt their ego or who do not hurt their sense of aham and mama. So they choose their company, they choose the association of devotees, they choose the spiritual master, everything in such a way that they can have a feel-good factor about themselves. And those who, quite often it happens that, like, say, when we have bhakti vrikshas and the like, we allow this to happen for quite some time, thinking maybe let this devotee chant the holy name for quite some time, and then they may get the strength to come face to face with their own anarthas. So the general strategy used is the devotees do not want to speak about what ails the other person, but rather let the process of devotional service itself take care of it. And then it's all up to some circumstance where the devotee comes face to face with saying, hey, my sense of aham and mama is being hurt. And it can go either ways. Either they may distance themselves from the devotees, or they may learn something and move forward, which happens very rarely. The distancing happens much more frequently. As a strategy, do you think that we, as practicing devotees who cannot claim ourselves to be any gurus or anything, it's best for us to keep quiet and just allow the process of chanting of the holy name and somehow services to the deities, etc., to purify them, and we just keep quiet? Because there is a risk. The moment we say something more, either the other person may stop or they may distance themselves from something which is some nice things that may come in their life. What's your thought on this?
Let's look from both sides. Okay, let's look from the receiver's side. They are each one of us as a receiver. We don't want anybody and everybody coming in, slapping us, verbally speaking, or figuratively speaking. We don't want being slapped because, be a new person entering a temple. There are 10 people who come and say, don't sit here, sit like that. Don't put your feet out like this, turn like that. Oh gosh, it's like so many orders. That's just one example. And in the community of we don't want constantly being told, don't do this. It's very hard. For example, and from the other side, let's say Hanuman side, Hanuman measured this, the slap that he gave Lankini was very measured. I'm not sure I have the ability in me to know how much is a measured slap on someone's ego. One, it's not I'm not tasked for it, nor do I know. So one should be careful. One should not kill someone's identity completely. Lankini was not killed. Third is, when we say Hanuma, is not just spiritual master per se. It's the mantra. Hanuman is the carrier of mantra. That's why he has Rama on his shoulder. He's the carrier, he's the power, he's the Shabda Brahman. Now, Shabda Brahman can appear in different people's lives in different ways. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini says, Yadrichaya. Some or the other, or for each person, they have their own way. For some, they can only hear from their guru. Other devotees are chopped cabbage. They don't care. When guru says, oh yeah, otherwise it's irrelevant. Some people, they can hear from anybody, not everybody. And some will learn it in a different way. They may read a purport, they may hear something may happen in their life. Some random person on the street may say something. Who knows? For each person is very different. And my personal view is we should let people move on their own journey. We don't speed it up, and we definitely don't slow it down. There is a Vedic saying that one should not instruct without being asked. Very rarely is that rule broken. Very rarely. And when one is asked, one should not stop. But how much, how intensely requires the mati or the kind of maturity of a Hanumanji. So it measured. Otherwise, we can take guidance on how much, how to say this. But it's everyone's journey. And everyone will come face to face. They will have to one day come face to face, naked with the reality of what's happening. So, and that's each person's own awakening, rude awakening, as they say in English. One should not be rudely shook up and woken up to something, unless that is your service to do so. Then yes, as a human being, you can be, and I'm saying you, not you particularly, as a human being, we can be kind and gentle and nudge people or indicate something so they don't feel that their ego is completely shattered, their sense of being is shattered. But a little that people can take. Does that anywhere in the neighborhood of what you're looking for?
Perfectly, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
All right, we've gone over quite a bit. Actually, I thought we'll be done in half hour today. And I didn't even expect anyone will have any questions. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. But it's the greatness of Hanumanji. Every act of his is fascinating. And may Shri Hanumanji help us. We invite him into our Lanka so that he may bring Shri Ramachandra, Lakshmana, all of his associates, Parshadas, to come and help this lost Sita who's crying for the Supreme Lord. May we facilitate, may we be the Lankinis that don't stop Hanumanji.